Regression is really easy in Excel. It's the interpretations that can get difficult when you're writing the paper. But if you just follow my examples, you will be able to do everything you need to do. You will find regression under Data and Data Analysis to the right on your ribbon. And if you scroll down, you will see Regression. Highlight it and click OK. It's going to ask you for all of this information. For your Y range, you will highlight body fat. Close this. For the X range, you will highlight and make sure you go to the top or you will not get all of your data. And then Excel will say ugly things to you. Close this. Make sure that you click on labels because you left labels in the first row. I'm going to let this go to a new worksheet. You could change it to output and click on a cell to keep it in this worksheet. You can ask for the residuals. You don't really need them. I'm going to go ahead and click on them. Your residual plots, you need those. And the normal probability plot, that's the one that we look at to see if the data is fairly normal. Now we click OK. We have our residual plot, we have our normal probability plot. See, it does pretty good. At this bottom end, it looks like it's sort of tailing off, and at the top end, there's our lovely little outlier. But it really doesn't make a lot of difference with, like I said in the previous video, with the correlation. It stays about the same, so I don't think it's really hurting anything to leave it there. If you look at the residual plot, you see that little nasty guy down here too. You have everything on this page you need to do regression. Well, let's format everything, put it in the paper, and then we'll talk about it. I'm going to clean up the normal probability plot, and then we will put that one in the paper. All I did was add figure 2 to the normal probability plot. Let's open the paper. First, copy this. Open the paper. I could have also changed the colors on this. I just left them the same. If I was doing a paper, I would want to have them the same color. So now we have found that we have a straight enough condition. We have two quantitative variables. The data is distributed normally, and there is one outlier, but because I have already checked it out, I know it really doesn't have a lot of effect. So we're good there. We have discussed the normal probability plot as a way to assess normality. There's another way, and that is to create a histogram of the residuals. So what you would do is use the residuals from your regression output. And I'm going to highlight all of the residuals by using Control-Shift-Down. And then I'm going to insert and go over here to histograms. So this is a histogram of all the residuals. You can see that it looks pretty normal. Therefore, I would say this would be safe to use a regression model. I'm not going to clean this chart up. I will leave that for you to do. However, these numbers are so big. Remember what I told you before, that you can take this column and you can go to the Home tab and you can decrease your decimal places. And I've got to re-highlight it. I can decrease the decimal places, and as I do, this starts to look better. So that's how you make the primary axis, if it's messy, if the labels are messy, that's how you clean them up. We need to have our correlation coefficient to discuss the scatter plot. I'm going to double click here to give everything a proper perspective. Our R-square is 0.661672. But remember, R is equal to the square root of R square. And if you're doing this somewhere and you have a percentage for R squared, you need to make sure you change it to a decimal first. So our R value is 0.813432. That's pretty good. It's a pretty strong R. So I'm going to go back to the paper and just put in that my R is 0.81. And that should be a little r. Okay, r equals 0.81. So when you talk about the scatter plot, you talk about the strength, the direction, and the linearity. The strength is given to you here with the r equals 0.81. That's a strong correlation between the two, a strong linear association. So that addresses strength. The other thing that we need to look at here was the direction, and it's a positive direction because as the x increases, the y increases. So now we've discussed the scatter plot. Go back to Excel. And let's go ahead and work on the residual plot. For it, we need to make some changes, just like we did before. I'm going to click on the axis tick marks and format the axis, and I'm going to change it from the minimum of 0 to, let's say, 60. On the top, we have this point, which is 148, which means we could go to 150. So now let's do the maximum 150. I didn't lose any points. You've got to be careful and make sure you don't lose any of your data points. Now what I'm going to do is go back and name this Figure 3. So now let's copy and paste this one into, and I don't want to paste it, I want to copy it into our paper. We're going to use residual plot with R squared value, so let's give it just a minute and we'll talk about the residual plot. The next thing I want you to do is to get a partial summary output. So you will highlight the first two columns down through this row. We're just going to take what we need from this. Since we're going to be deleting rows, I want to copy this and paste it into another sheet. Paste 1, 2, 3, double click. Do that. So let's delete the things we don't need. We don't need multiple R. Left click on it and delete it. You left click, then right click, then delete. By now you should know that. These two I can delete at the same time, the adjusted R square and the standard error. I can do that because they are together. It won't let me do it if they're separated by something else. Okay, we don't want the ANOVA, so I'm going to highlight ANOVA all the way down to the coefficient line. Right click and delete. Now we're getting down to business. Let's format this. I'm going to type in here partial summary output, and this will be table 1. And now I'm going to widen this out just a little bit so that the summary output will fit. I'm going to take these two and I'm going to merge and center here. And then everything else is okay. I'm going to center this. I'm going to change r squared to a percentage, and then you know I like 2 decimal places, so there's my r squared. And this is a partial summary output. This is all you need to have to write a regression equation. Let's change these to less decimal places. You don't want all that to work with when you're working with an equation. I think 2 decimal places is plenty. Let's put in lines. I never did merge and center this. I'm going to put in an underline here, and this is personal taste, and then one here. I think I will also put a line in here, and the reason is it's a separate section from this part, and I like to set it apart. The next thing you do is go to View, get rid of your grid lines. Now you're ready to copy and paste this into your paper. Paste as a picture. One thing that it helps when you're pasting as a picture is that it doesn't allow you to cross 2 pages, and that's a no-no in statistics. If I had pasted this in a different format, it would allow it to go across the 2 pages, and that's just not good. You don't want your table on 2 pages. So pasting as a picture prevents that from happening. As far as the Excel spreadsheet is concerned, we're finished with it. Now let's talk a little bit about this output. We did it in class. One thing I want to show you is how you can type in Word and put in the hats and the things you need. Remember in class today we talked about the fact that this is your y-intercept and this is your slope. So what I'm going to do is go to Insert and Equation, and go down to Insert New Equation, and this is what you see. Now you can justify it however you want to. I'm going to justify left to put it on the left. And what I want to have first is my my y hat, which in this case is body fat percentage, or percentage body fat. If you go to the ribbon here, accents are where you will find your hat. You can get bars here, anything you need. This is your hat, so I'm going to put it in here, then go back into the box and put percentage body fat. And then arrow out and say equals negative 39.28 plus 0.63 abdomen circumference. And you have this typed in. Once again, remember, you go to Insert, and then to equation, and to insert a new equation. This is also where you get your symbols that you can use. If you want like mu or standard deviation or anything like that, you can find it here. This completes the videos on regression. I hope this has helped you.